waking up all North Texas. Good Day continues at 5 a.m.
A major industrial fire continues to burn in Grand Prairie. We'll have the latest on this developing story in a live report. Governor Abbott issues a new threat for any Texas city wanting to follow Austin's decision to defund police. And after DPD's response to recent protests, Dallas City Council members say they've lost trust in the police chief. Good morning. It is Wednesday, August 19th. I'm Brandon Todd. Hannah begins our coverage this hour.
Hey, good morning, you guys, and thank you so much for joining us. We continue to follow a continuing story this morning, a breaking news story this morning, an hours-long fight to contain a massive fire burning in Grand Prairie. It continues. Fire crews are battling that blaze in an industrial area of the city. That's where we find Fox 4's Dan Godwin this morning with the very latest. Dan, good morning.
Good morning, Hannah. This remains a very large fire. Certainly hasn't gotten any smaller in the 90 minutes or so that we've been here. We've been trying to find out what we can about the firefighting effort. You can see the flames, as I mentioned, very large, generating a huge column of black smoke. And if we pan the camera a little bit to the right, we are able to see one column of water being poured onto the fire from that angle. We're assuming firefighters have other hoses set up as well to try to get as much water or firefighting material onto the flames. This fire broke out just before 1 o'clock here at the Poly America facility. The company makes large plastic construction trash bags. Their website says they're the largest plastic bag manufacturer in the U.S., both large size and for household use. We're near President George Bush Turnpike and Marshall Drive on the west side of Grand Prairie. So far, no reports of any injuries. Not known if anybody was inside any buildings on the property when the fire started. The cause is also unknown. One of our photographers and a number of witnesses we spoke to heard several explosions as this facility burned. We're also occasionally, don't know if you can see them now on the screen, but we're occasionally seeing some sort of projectiles coming out from the flames from time to time. We also were told the fire burned a number of railroad cars nearby. Still waiting for confirmation on that. Police, of course, have a number of streets blocked off in this area. Not known if anyone's been evacuated yet. There are some power outages in this portion of Grand Prairie. This is what we heard from a witness we spoke to a little earlier this morning.
Yeah, as we were there, it got a lot bigger. The explosion that happened is what really made it spread even more. It was already burning pretty badly, and you could hear like a couple small explosions going on. Then there was one big explosion that really came forward at us. It wasn't one of those overpowering explosions that'll knock you down, but the force with the heat that came with it, you knew it was getting close and you knew it was getting bad, so I just went ahead and got out of Dodge.
Encore says there have been some power outages, as we mentioned. The last we heard from the utility, about 70 customers in this part of Grand Prairie are without power. One thing we're keeping an eye on is the large, very tall electrical towers near the fire, near where the flames are burning. They're carrying some large power lines. If those towers were to go down, that would presumably cause a lot bigger disruption in the power supply for this portion of Grand Prairie. But again, the fire is still burning here at the Poly America facility on the west side of Grand Prairie. Back to Hannah.
Yeah, and Dan, you mentioned the power lines. We've since learned that the aircraft rescue and firefighting truck from DFW Airport has moved to that location I'm assuming, in an attempt to cool those power lines. Do you know if they've made any headway on that, or are they still working on those lines at this time?
You know, from our vantage point, it's a little bit challenging to see what's going on closer up to the flames. Understandably, people are being kept quite a distance from this fire, since we are talking about a plastics manufacturing plant. We also did get a report that, yes, that DFW Airport had sent some equipment to this area to help deal with or perhaps provide some protection for those electrical towers, but we're not able at this point to provide an update as to how that effort is going.
Yeah. Well, and Dan, I know you've covered several of these types of fires. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like out there right now, what it feels like, what it smells like, and kind of speak to the conditions that these firefighters are battling right now?
Well, a fire of this size certainly generates a tremendous, huge amount of heat, and that's just one of many challenges that firefighters would be dealing with. Can they get close enough, to the fire to really go on offense? We mentioned that one column of water that we see continuously poured onto the flames. But again, those firefighters at quite some distance. We assume that's the situation around the perimeter of the fire. Where we are right now, earlier we did see a number of nearby residents, witnesses here, just sort of looking at what's going on. From the distance we're at, we're not able to feel the heat from the flames, but certainly the first responders dealing with this are experiencing that. Hannah, back to you.
Yeah, no kidding, Dan. And I've had viewers messaging me saying they can see these flames, they can see the smoke from miles away. So, Dan, thank you so much and stay safe.